Hi, and welcome everyone to the first ever Serie podcast for the fans. We're planning on giving all fans a fair go with our content today. And as this week and every week, I have my co-host with me from Interworldwide, Bruno Altamore.
How are you, mate?
I'm very, very good.
I am good too. Look, we're only 5 weeks into the Serie A season, and it just feels like it's the excitement across the board, from upsets to teams that are struggling that I didn't think would, and there's so much to cover. It's a pleasure to be on a podcast where you're covering everything from A to Z, from Atalanta to Spezia. It's good.
Yeah, well, most of those podcasts, they cover about 3 teams, so we're here for the fans, and
Definitely. Look, let's not waste any time talking ourselves up, and let's get straight into it. The first match was the 3-3 result between Sassuolo and Torino. So I know you've got a bit of an insight there. So what do you think? How do you think the game went, and is there any highlights that you would want to cover in that?
well, I think that Sassuolo were just on fire coming into that. They scored 4 goals in the last 3 games. So 4 goals in every game. So 12 goals, is a lot of goals. And they didn't stop in this game. It was another goals galore marathon. And, the game had thick fog. And I'm not sure if it actually played a part in the outcome of the game, because a couple of those late goals seem to come from long balls, and I'm not sure who's seen them come in, if that had an impact, because on TV it looked pretty much insane. It really did. Obviously, Sassuolo with the comeback. They were 2 goals down, so 3-1, and no team has come back more from a losing position this season than Sassuolo. Obviously, you got Belotti, that's just on fire this season. He's just fire, and he's been playing for Italy and a little bit overrated for Italy, I reckon. But just on fire this season. Maybe this is his year. What do you reckon, Bruno?
Oh, look, I think, yeah, the fog and the weather conditions definitely played a part in this. But in saying that, you did mention that Torino were leading 3-1, and that was in the 80th minute, and it was 2 late goals from Sassuolo. But I think the result and the comeback from Sassuolo just cements Torino's performance thus far in the season. They're currently sitting in 19th place with 1 point. Right?
Yeah.
That 1 point came against the Swallow, where they were leading. So out of 5 matches, they've gotten 1 draw and 4 losses. Whereas Sassuolo, on the complete opposite of the table, are currently sitting equal second in 3rd place with 11 points. But when you look at it like that, I think as well, you mentioned that they scored 12 goals in 3 games. Their goal difference is only positive 7. So with those 12 goals, they've had a fair few come in as well. And I think we saw the likes of this happen last year and the season before with Atalanta. They're always high-scoring games, but Atalanta would always manage to get them more goals. You score 4, they'll score 5. And we always knew Atalanta's defense was lacking last season and the season prior. But you look at this result here, and I think it's a great example of Sassuolo. They've got that great strike power coming into the game, but their defense isn't up there. You mentioned Belotti for Italy. Caputo scored the equalising goal, and he played for Italy as well. So that was a great sign there. But I think when you mention Italy, they're struggling for strikers at the moment. You've got some amazing strikers on the Italian roster, but when it comes to actual game time, you just don't see them perform as well. That could be down to management, but let's talk about the Serie A. Philip Jurkic, he's been scoring those goals too for Sassuolo. So they've got some great strike power up there. You never know. They might come up and, be that dark horse that, you see every year. But let's move on to last year's dark horse and semi-finalists, I think they were in the Champions League. Atalanta, they fell to Sampdoria 3-1. And tell me, what do you think there?
Well, incredible that they got 3 wins in a row now, Sampdoria. And, they blew a lead against Benevento earlier on in the season. I think everyone just said, nah, they're gone. They almost got relegated. They're just finished. But, Quagliarella just can't stop scoring. This week is, I reckon, a highlight of potential Italian superstars at the Euro. And Quagliarella just looks the part. There was the 2 goals Sump scored were near side of the goalkeeper. I'm not sure if the keeper was at fault for a couple of those goals. Sampdoria played very well. Atalanta did have their chances when the score was level and 1-0, but I think that the goalkeeping, you shouldn't really be conceding near side. The penalty that was awarded to Atalanta, on the replays I've seen, he completely missed him. It was a karate kick from Kiefer Balde, and he missed him. And the referee went to VAR because they wanted him to have a look at it. And I think his official was for a dangerous challenge because he had the high foot. I think that's a little bit harsh. You don't normally see penalties given for dangerous when there was no contact. But Kiefer actually he come back and he laid on a very nice assist for the 3rd goal to clinch the game. And Sampdoria under Ranieri, they don't look like a team that's going to come last. They look like at least mid-table. What do you reckon, Bruno?
Yeah, no, definitely. And you saw they started the season with the loss against Juventus and, like you mentioned, Benevento, but they've come back with 3 straight wins. And it cements. And we saw Ranieri at Leicester and what he did there. And, I can't see this being the same sort of story, but I can see it being the positive side of what some great managers can do to a club, regardless of the players they've got. In saying that, last week they beat Lazio, and Lazio had that fantastic game against Borussia Dortmund in the Champions League. Then they faced Atalanta, who, as we're recording, drew 2-2 with Ajax. Is it just a case of Sampdoria getting the right team at the right time? Lazio, they didn't look like they rested the players, but they obviously had something in the back of their mind. And now you're looking at Atalanta, who had their dreams squashed last year by PSG in the Champions League. Was their mind on the Champions League rather than the Serie A? But in saying that, you got to give credit where credit is due. They didn't take their foot off the pedal, even though they were only winning 1-0 at halftime. And like you said, and I'm sure we're going to hear it a lot more in this podcast, the refereeing was quite questionable. And, there are a couple of instances this week. And, we're going to probably blow up on 1 or 2 games in regards to the refereeing. But you know what? All credit to Quagliarella. He just doesn't want to go away. And yeah. I'm loving it. I'm absolutely loving it. The next fixture, and this is a fixture I'll take the lead on, is my beloved Inter. They took on Genoa. And when I first saw the lineup, it was a bit scary. But in the back of my mind, I could say Conte's looking towards the Champions League. Now, in hindsight, it was a 0-0 draw with Shakhtar in the Champions League. But you look at the players that he did rest, and he had the Fry rested. He started Ranocchia. He had Hakimi, who was now available. He started Damian. But we discussed earlier today, Vince, once Perisic came off the field, Damian switched sides and Hakimi came on. And, there's that. even though it was their first clean sheet of the season, but even though it was only a 2-0 win, I feel they did the best they could do with the available team. But in saying that, once Barella came on the field, the goals started to come. And I just think he's one of those amazing players who can conduct the game. He turns the game into, he's the conductor, and the pitch is his orchestra, and he just dictates what's happening. And as an Italian, it's amazing to see a player like that. It's beautiful knowing that, you've got the future there. But yeah, look, there was a questionable refereeing decision in that game as well. I feel Inter were quite fortunate. Martinez should have been sent off with a red card earlier on in the first half. He did get taken off, but still, if you're going to argue when you don't get the calls for you, you've got to argue when the calls go against you. You've got to sort of argue the same point when they're for you. When Inter were very fortunate, but they did get the win, which, you know what, it was well overdue, especially after the loss to Milan in the derby, as well as the draw with Lazio, where they just did not look the part. But yeah, Inter sitting in 4th place, whereas Genoa's down in 15th. I don't know. Is there better signs to come for Inter? What did you take from it, Vince?
I've got a lot of mixed feelings about Inter this year. I feel like they're playing well, and they're not putting their chances away, and they're playing in patches. I don't think Hakimi is doing enough. I thought Darmian is actually doing better than Hakimi. I'm not sure if that's one of those sort of like Conti sort of things where he liked Candreva, and Candreva would perform out of his skin for him. And now Darmian's one of those players that he had in the national team. I'm not sure if there's a connection there with what Conti really wants, or the grinta, the passion, I'm not sure about that. A little bit concerned that it's 5 games now for Inter and only the 1 win against Genoa, with the 2 draws in the Champions League, a draw to Lazio and a loss to AC Milan. A 5-game 1 win sort of, at the start of last season, they were absolutely dominating. I think my worrying sign from the game was definitely Martinez. I seen earlier on in the game, he had a shot that it just went over the crossbar, and he looked very frustrated. And then he'd done that really, actually before that, he was running into the box off a cross, and he pushed one of the defenders sort of with his elbow. It showed a bit of aggression. And then he done that studs tackle, which was, I think it was a red, and he got the yellow. And then when he got substituted, a lot of people are saying that it's good because he's showing a bit of passion and fight. But I think if you add everything up during the whole game, I think it is a little bit worrying that there's something there. I feel like there's something about him that he must just be, maybe it's a life thing that he's frustrated with something, and it's built up. But until Inter can get the best out of Martinez, then I think that Inter will struggle to finish off goals, because Lukaku's just a machine. He's got to be the face of the league. His change of pace destroys defenders. He's so fast, so strong, so lethal. That is one of the best signings of the last few years. Lukaku's just, he was worth 70 million, but he's got to be worth 150 right now. He's just incredible.
And look, definitely. And I think my biggest worry was he had a fantastic first season with Inter. Was he going to back it up? And from what we can see, he is definitely backing it up. In the Serie A, it's 5 games, 5 goals. And I just think, you know what? It's just it's scary. And what will happen to Inter if he does get injured? You don't know, but fingers crossed he doesn't. From my beloved, we move to your beloved, Lazio against Bologna, where Lazio did take the 2-1 victory over Bologna. I know you got up to watch it. What do you think?
Well, it's quite funny because after the game, it's been a full season where Bologna has been unable to not concede a goal. 38 Serie A games in a row, they've conceded a goal. It's 13 months. It is a long time to not pop out one of those boring nil-all draws, you know. Um, Lazio played Pepe Reina. Um, they said Strakosha had a knock, but he could have possibly had COVID, as we may have found out. But he wasn't very convincing, and Bologna scored off a foul so the goal was disallowed, but it was poor goalkeeping to let the ball go through. I thought that Bologna actually didn't play that bad in that first period. Lazio, Akbar Akbro, just unbelievable. A signing come from nowhere. Stepped in for Milinkovic Savic and was, absolutely sensational. Um, the Bologna came out only after Lazio got to a 2-0 lead. And when they did come out and play, Lazio did look a little bit more shaky. And then Bologna got a late goal and really put Lazio under pressure. I mean, unbelievable. Stoppage time goes for 3-4 minutes. It seems like uh, held on. I think they deserved the victory. Probably the most important thing was that Chiro become Lazio's second highest leading goal scorer, taking over Beppe Signori. And Luis Alberto scored a really good goal from a poor giveaway. But I think Lazio's, heading in the right direction. Nothing overly flashy. Still a little bit of rotation like you see from most teams, and it's unsettling a lot of teams. And I think the same is with Lazio. Just with these new players not really having a preseason, I think it's hurt. It's definitely hurt like a lot of players, like a lot of teams, a lot of players that come from different leagues trying to find their feet, and I think you see that with a few players at Lazio as well. But all in all, it was decent enough performance from Lazio. Bologna, I can't see them stop conceding goals. So, did you catch any of it, Bruno?
Yeah, I'd have to agree. Look, Lazio have been trying to get back on the bike since COVID hit, and there was the stoppage last season. They were just absolutely destroyed by injuries, and even in the Inter fixture earlier on, they played out a passionate 1-1 draw, but the first half was 3 injury substitutions. So fortunately enough, he's had 5 substitutions allowed, but still, it's a team that's been riddled with injury. Your new signing comes and he's got COVID. But I think the Borussia Dortmund victory in the Champions League just showed in Italy and Europe what Lazio is capable, and Lazio have not disappeared from the scene. But it was very. It's a good sign, but like you said, you've shown great rotation, but a lot of the youth you have purchased have come through and absolutely shown what they're capable of, and it's scary to see what a full strength Lazio would be like. I think Inzaghi's done wonders with this team, and we've only touched the tip of the iceberg with them. But moving on, one of the most exciting games of the week came in the form of Cagliari and Crotone, where Cagliari took the 3 points in a 4-2 victory. But what a game. There was some fantastic goals, and my personal goal of the week came from this game. And I just feel, you know what, Crotone, they're surprising. They're not that team that came to the Serie A a couple of seasons ago where, you're almost guaranteed the 3 points when you were up against them. We saw what they're capable of last week where they got the draw against Juventus. Unfortunately, they are dead last on the table. with just that 1 point, which they did take from Juventus. But my goal of the week actually came in the 43rd minute. Molina had an amazing volley on the outside of the box. And I just feel, you know what, you mentioned earlier that, there was a great goal from the free kick, but I just feel that volley, just had the composure. It was spectacular. I loved every bit of it. I still think Crotone isn't going to do wonders this season. They may cause some heartache, but the quality in this Serie is not up to par with the rest of the Crotone is just not up there with the rest of the league. But yeah, Cagliari, not as convincing. It was 2-2, and then they took it out to 4-2. But yeah, not the same team we saw against Juventus. But Vince, what do you think? What do you take from this fixture?
Well, before the game started, I thought I'd sleep through this one. I expected it to be a dreadful game, quite really boring, sort of maybe a 1-1, maybe like something really bad, and it was jam packed, and like you said, the goal of the week, your goal of the week, my second goal of the week was the equalising free kick. I thought even that was sensational. There was a guiding pass from the back that just penetrated straight through, and then it was like one more layoff, and then it was goal. It was such a good pass. It was such quality. It was a good buy for them. Quality players do make a difference, and that was a little bit of a game changer. But the real game changer was the red card. I think he got the ball first, and then he made contact like after, and it was a second yellow. Like, so, I thought it was really harsh to send someone off for a tackle where they got the ball. But yeah, that's it. It's real tough. It's a real tough one for Crotone. But yeah, their goal difference is terrible. Their goal difference. Sorry.
-10.
Yeah, -10 is absolutely. It's 5 games in -10. I don't want to call it, but I think it's a bit of a flat line there. I think that they're heading. They're gonna show some quality. They're not gonna go down without a fight, clearly, but I think that they're gonna need a little bit more depth to play. Once we start playing 3 games a week, because we will be doing that soon, then I think they're really going to struggle. But they have the right mindset, because they are attacking, and they are doing bits right. It's just the little things that they need more quality, just like a got in, and that's it.
Yeah. Well, look, yeah, I agree. I just think they don't have the pedigree to withstand an entire season at Italy's top flight. In saying that, when they were last promoted to the Serie A, the last match day, they managed to stay in by the skin of their teeth. But then the following season, it was just all downhill. But we moved from one newly promoted team to another, and that is Benevento, who is also managed by Insigne, and then Inzaghi, who played against Napoli, who are managed by World Cup winner Gattuso. So two 2006 World Cup winners managing this fixture. And what was even more exciting, and I know you've got the record in front of you, but 2 Insigne brothers facing off against each other. I'm not going to say anymore. Vince, take us through this fixture.
Yeah, I thought that Napoli were really poor defensively early on. The first goal was a defensive error. They passed the ball literally straight to them. It was you still had to finish it. It wasn't as simple as a tap in. They still had to finish it. I think that Benevento are the real deal. I think they're going to cause a lot of problems. They're going to score a lot of goals, but Napoli did fight back pretty hard. They were hitting crossbars. Insigne had a goal disallowed for offside, which was clearly offside. And then he got the equaliser. Both brothers scoring in the same game. Lorenzo's brother actually played for Napoli before he went to Benevento, but that was his first Serie A goal, and to have his brother cancel it out, I'm sure there'll be a bit of talking, at the dinner table.
Definitely. And there was it came out saying it was the first time two brothers had scored against each other since 1949.
Yeah.
So it's a massive feat. But yeah, just piggybacking off what you said there. Napoli have not looked the real deal. They've played 4 games, but they've gotten the 4 wins. They had the 1-point deduction because they didn't travel to Torino to face Juventus. Otherwise, they could potentially be on a perfect 15. But 4 games, 4 wins. They're scoring goals, but they don't look convincing. But what I have seen from Napoli this season is they've invested well. They've invested well in their players. Politano, which they purchased from Inter, he was playing phenomenally for them when he did play. And you also had Andrea Patena, which was purchased from Spal, I believe, at the end of last season, coming into this season. And he got the second goal in that fixture. But I don't know. I'm going to ask you, and I'm going to ask you once, are Napoli going to make Champions League this season?
Well, they're a funny one because their official loss, I guess, to Juventus was a 3-0 imaginary goals. And you take away those 3 goals and they've only conceded 2 goals like all season. So, to concede 2 goals in 4 games played defensively is very, very good. And I think defense wins titles. So I think last year they kept on chopping and changing with Di Lorenzo, the Koulibaly. He was always injured, and it was a disaster at the back for him last year. Even with the goalkeeper, that it was a disaster. This year seems a lot more settled. The playing group have just accepted Gattuso. Everything says that Napoli are going to be there, but I'm not 100% sure. I think Gattuso's very, very defensive minded, and when he comes up against the big boys, will he be able to actually have a good system to put them away? And that's what worries me, is that maybe they can play very well against the bottom teams, but against the top teams, I'm not 100% certain just yet.
Yeah, and I don't think anyone can be 100% certain. Normally, I say my rule is give it 5 games and you'll see the shape of the table. But I'm looking at it, and I don't know. Maybe I need another 5 games because it's just so it's not just inconsistent. It's been so unpredictable. And talking about unpredictable, it's the perfect segue into the next match. Newly promoted Spezia traveled to face struggling, and I'm going to say struggling Parma. They were down 2-0. They came back and got the 2-2. It was a 90th minute penalty, which, you know what? Penalties have been a talking point since the introduction of VAR in the Serie A. But whether it was or wasn't a penalty, Vince, do you think Parma, they're struggling? Do you think they're going to provide any threat to anyone?
I thought that Liverani was really unlucky to get relegated with Lecce last year. I thought he was coaching very well, and he got good results. I think he might have been one of the first teams to take points off Juventus. They played very well. They went on a really good run. They gave Lazio a big run for their money. Lazio got very lucky in that 4-2 win last season with Lecce. But I don't think that it's transferred over to Parma. I don't think they've got that balance where they're tight enough. I believe there was a few players out hurt, and it does hurt, but it's going to be a long season. And when I say long season, it's not in time going to be a long season, but for some of these players, it's going to feel like a really, really long season because the games are just jam packed. And when you keep on getting poor results and putting in a lot of effort, it's going to wear you down. And I'm really worried. And I've just got that funny feeling he could be the first coach to be sacked. I think unless they sort of kick into gear and show a style of play, I think they're lacking everything. I really do. Spezia were just they hit the post 3 times in this match. 3 times they hit the post. It's so unlucky for anyone. It doesn't matter who it is. But, I mean, if they got one of those in, then I guess there would have been 3-1 and the penalty probably would never have happened. I mean, you can never say. Parma might have attacked more and because they had a bigger deficit. But I think that Spezia are showing something. Whether it's enough to remain in Serie A, it's different. We'll see, but they're definitely showing fighting spirit. They had players out as well. They had a decent amount of players out as well. So,
Spezia is currently in 14th place with only 5 points, and Parma, you can't say much much worse. They're in, I'd say equal, but they're sitting in 16th with 4 points. But yeah, overall. At Lecce, he was phenomenal, and it was very upsetting to see Lecce drop, especially with the season they had. They took points off Juventus, Inter, and they were just that team that you could not write off until the death. But we're going from struggling Parma to what I think is I'd like to call struggling Udinese, where Udinese faced Fiorentina. They travelled to Florence. They had a hard-fought match. They were down 2-1 at halftime, and the match ended up finishing 3-2. It was an 86th minute goal to Chuka. But look, Fiorentina haven't been the most amazing side in the Serie A, but at the same time, they haven't been the most disappointing side. They're currently sitting in 10th spot on 7 points, where Udinese is in 18th spot with only 3 points. But look, they gave Inter a run for their money earlier this season, and they were quite unfortunate not to get a point in that match against Inter. But you know what? Ribéry has been playing phenomenal for the team. He was missing for much of last season. And it's just one of those things. He didn't start for Fiorentina, but as an Inter fan, I like to look at our players, and Cristiano Biraghi has been amazing, and I still, to this day, question why Inter would have let someone like him go, and we take Ashley Young. I still don't know, to the best of my knowledge, as to what they did, but look, at the end of the day, Fiorentina, I feel, have not been the same Fiorentina since they lost their captain a couple of years ago, who tragically suddenly died. So I just feel it's something that does play on their minds and on their hearts. But it's good to see them playing well, but I just feel there are some gaps they need to fill. But like any team, mid-table team, they are taking the points from the bottom teams, and that's how you survive in the Serie A. You get those wins where you should be winning. Vince, it was another high-scoring match. How many goals did you say happened in this round of Serie A?
This round and last round were 41 goals in Serie A.
Across 10 matches, they're averaging 4 goals a match. It's entertaining. It's entertaining. Who said the Serie A was boring? It's entertaining. There were 5 goals in this game. What do you think? What did you take away from it?
I think you stole my thunder a little because I was really going to mention Biraghi. 2 assists. Um, I definitely think that Inter should have kept him. Inter started the year off so well, and he was there playing before Ashley Young, and Inter started off so well last season. And yeah, I think there's a couple of Inter fans that might be a little bit upset in seeing his form right now. But Castrovilli, like he has scored more goals in the first 5 rounds than he has all of last season. He's already scored more goals, 4 goals in 5 games. That's another, like this week, Belotti, Quagliarella, Castavilli, like these. Are you seeing an Italian superstar at the Euros? Like, are you seeing one of these guys being a superstar? Because if he can score, he's just got that body shape that Italy need. Um, but I think Fiorentina are missing balance, but it's only a little bit of balance. So I don't think that they're very far away. I think that that they do need a better coach. I'm not a fan of Quinta. Um, I think that they probably need a better coach just to get a little bit more structure because I think that they're playing very well. It's just they're conceding too many goals. But I think they do have the quality there. Milinkovic, everyone wants Milinkovic. He's sensational for him. On the other hand, that Okacha for Udinese, he scored two, and I can't remember now if he hit the crossbar or if the goalkeeper saved it at point blank. Otherwise, he would have had 3 goals. But last season, Udinese went on a run of 12 games without conceding a goal, and this year they're already -4. So I see big problems for Udinese.
Yeah, definitely. And it's going to be an entertaining end of the season, not just at the top of the table, but I feel at the bottom of the table, it's going to be very well contested. Moving on, another 2006 World Cup winner was managing this next fixture. It was Juventus who drew to Hellas Verona. Pirlo has only been in the match in the Serie A managing 4-5 fixtures, and well 4 fixtures, with one of them being a default 3-0 win against Napoli. But in saying that, Ronaldo has been missing for due to COVID, and I'm gonna just have my little say here before I hand it over to you. But I feel that you know what? 1-1 does not do Juventus justice. You know what? Hellas Verona are defending like champions. And you know what? Especially after the loss of Kumbula, who went to Roma, I believe. I feel that, it would have played a big part. But when they want to defend, they defend. But this Juventus team, in my eyes, I feel they performed more as a unit. And Dybala is just the future of that club at the moment. Kulilevsky, or however you say his name, he's been popping up when needed. I still don't know what Bernardeschi's doing there. I still don't know how he still gets on that pitch day in and day out. I don't know what they see, but I know you're going to expand on this, but they're playing a very Pirlo-esque style of football, and I think that the loss of Ronaldo has taught them more than they've lost. They've gained more from that loss of Ronaldo due to COVID. They've gained a lot more, and they're starting to find their identity as a team rather than Ronaldo being Juventus. They're finding their own identity. But when Juventus drops points, it is not a frequent event. So I'm going to let you dissect this one, Vince. It was 1-1, the final score. Halftime was 0-0. What do you think?
Well, when you think about it, Hellas Verona have only conceded 2 goals all season, and that includes the 1 goal that Juventus scored against them. So I think everyone's very harsh on Juventus, but I mean Juric Juric is doing a fantastic job there. He really is. I, I'm a big fan of Hellas. I seen them defend as a unit, but I actually seen them counter attack very very well, where other teams don't do it as well. They like it's almost like they just come out of nowhere when they counter attack. I thought Hellas actually played really well, and it's important to note that both teams had a goal disallowed for offside by a little tiny margin. The Verona one was both players were in front of the ball, and and he was just ahead of the ball because the defenders were behind. So um, I really think I really think that Juventus, if they can get it right, then they could be a team like the French national team that can dominate the Spanish national team when they dominated for a long period of time. I think that Juventus can actually become that team. Like when the balls were coming from the back, they were coming into space. Players were getting the ball in front of them, which is a big difference to getting them behind and then having to slow the play down. The transition from defense to attack was really good, but that was in the back end of the half. It's almost like they need to be behind to actually to kickstart their games. But I think that another thing another thing that's important is that Juventus are missing so much quality. Chiesa copped a red card. Ronaldo's in the game prior, which he really shouldn't have. Ronaldo's got COVID. Cellini was out. De Ligt was out. Bonucci went off with a hamstring. It didn't really affect too much the game, but he still went off with a hamstring. Juventus in a world of pain right now. Two subs scored. They both come off the bench. One come off the bench, scored the goal. He actually pulled his hammy. Favali pulled his hammy, scoring the goal, which I mean, do you really feel sorry for him? You score against Juventus, and then you get a break. But the other thing I just wanted to bring up, which isn't really that important, but Pharrell Williams partially designed the Juventus jersey they wore, which is I think it's a really good marketing ploy by Juventus, maybe just to make a little bit more money. And I think maybe if other clubs did something similar, given that there's no supporters going to grounds, and I think that could be something there. But definitely, I think both of these teams um, are really good teams. And like I said with Napoli, Napoli and Verona both actually only conceded 2 goals. But the difference is Verona have played 5 games,
Yeah.
where Napoli played the 4. So don't don't think that Juventus really played that poorly.
No,
Um,
I don't think Juventus played poorly at all. And you know what? With the team they've got, Cellini was out injured most of last season, comes back. De Ligt gets injured. Bonucci gets injured. Cellini's not on the starting. Chiesa got a very suspicious red last week, and everything sort of starts to bottle up. And you know what? You look at teams that have this many injuries, and a lot of them would be losing 3-4-0.
yeah.
But they've got 2 teams and they've got depth, and it's just starting to show. Plus, on top of that, they've also got Champions League coming up, and it's a very big fixture. They're playing Barcelona, so does that play a factor in the actual result of the game? The jersey, I'm glad you mentioned it. I actually enjoyed seeing it. For the viewers who aren't based in Australia, a couple of years ago, the Australian Rugby League introduced the Avengers jerseys, which sold like crazy. And imagine something like that happening in the Serie A, where your Inter, the blue is Captain America, the red Milan is Iron Man. You'd sell. You'd sell. And like you said, COVID times. I hope the Serie A is listening to us. I hope one of the presidents is listening to us, because it would be amazing to see that. And you know what? We're going into the last fixture of the week now, and it's my rival Milan against your rival Roma. But it was a 6-goal thriller. But you know what? Irrespective of how many goals were scored, irrespective that Zlatan got 2 of them, Irrespective, I think the main talking point and the main disappointing factor of this fixture was the referees and how poor the referees were this game. It was absolutely disgusting, and reports came out of Italy stating that both the referee who was on the field and the referee who was in charge of VAR have been suspended. And they are taking a strong stance. The Serie, the referee who officiated the fixture last week for Juventus, he's been demoted to the Serie B. So they are taking a strong stance, but what a terrible job by the referees. Overall, I think for both of us, it was a fantastic result, 3-3. From a Milan perspective, I feel they have been the informed team, not just in Italy, but in Europe. Zlatan, he's cracking 40, and you look at him, and then you look at Vince, who just cracked 40. You just got to, and this is a man who has the ego of Balotelli, but he has the performance that backs it up, where he can be as cocky as he wants, but when he gets onto that pitch, he is just phenomenal. And I think he's been back for 3 games for 6 goals. He scored 2 against Inter, 2 against Roma. And they're not beating nobodies; they're beating proper teams.
Yeah.
And irrespective of Inter being mismanaged or not playing well, you're still beating a top grade team in a derby. And I don't know, Milan, I hate to say it, but they do look the real deal. My only question to them is, can they maintain this? Is it that early season boost they've got and it's going to die off or wane off, the guy is, he's going to be on crutch. He's going to have his walking sticks soon, Zlatan, but he just seems to be going. Does an injury to Zlatan change everything? I don't know. 3-3. As much as I hate to say it, Milan played the better game. But you know what? They're still top of the table, and it's 5 games in. They're undefeated still, with 4 wins and a draw. It's going to be an interesting run. I'm not going to talk too much more about them because, it makes my blood boil. But it's impressive. I feel like, the last couple of seasons they've spent a lot of money and they've been building up to this. They've been building up to this, and it's finally the pieces of the puzzle are all starting to fall into place. And wasn't Donnarumma not even playing that game? So their star goalkeeper, Italy's goalkeeper, the national team goalkeeper, wasn't even playing as well. So you know what? It's scary. It's scary, and can they maintain it? I don't know. What do you think, Vince? What do you think of that 6-goal game?
Yeah, the keeper drew the game for Roma. With Donnarumma being out, it was wow. He would have caught it. He would have said that it's his ball. And he's rushed off his line, and he's just clean missed it. And Dzeko just the professionalism of Dzeko, just to head it in the goal, make it look easy, but it was easy and it was a gift. And I think if Donnarumma was there, Milan win this game, they would have went on with it, I think. But Milan gave him a sniff with the goal, and then that terrible refereeing decisions, which I honestly think, even though some haven't resulted in actual penalties, I thought the refereeing has been very unbalanced this year in certain games where they're just letting tackles go and they're quite rough games, and then other games where you just look in the direction and you get a yellow card. So I think the refereeing has been different in every game. Like the balance is a little bit all over the place. But generally this season they haven't been really giving soft penalties away. They've been a lot more tougher with the penalties, and I think it's good. I'm enjoying it, but it still needs to be consistent. And I think that's why the referees clearly got dropped. They made a big thing of it. Well, it was a big game, so it was a big thing, but they made the point that we don't want these stupid soft penalties in the game. But Yeah, I think
Not. Do you know what? If a bad action's being committed in the box, whether it's hard or soft, it's a foul. If it's in the box, it's a penalty. But the first penalty that was awarded, they awarded the penalty to the attacker, but it should have been out to the defender. It was the two penalties that were awarded that were not soft. They just weren't penalties. Like we had a discussion earlier in regards to the Lukaku incident in the Shakhtar game in the Champions League. You said it could have been a penalty, but it didn't look like a penalty. I said it was very 50-50, but they're things that you don't mind seeing being called a penalty because you know what? If it could have went either way. But the ones against Milan and Roma, they could not have gone either way. Like there was just, and I feel like we've introduced VAR. It made us. It looked terrible last season, where it was just penalty for you, penalty for you, penalty for you, penalty for everything. Oh, your hand's touching your body, but it touched your hand, so it's a penalty. Whereas this season, I think the scrutiny they copped last season has impacted how they're officiating this season. And you know what? I don't know why VAR didn't turn around and say, hey, look at that. Have a look. You know, something's not right there. But at the end of the day, without VAR, the referee still would have called those penalties. And it's terrible.
Well, the referee has actually come out and said on the first penalty that the defender didn't have control of the ball because he didn't touch it. And because he got in front of the ball, he was obstructing play. and it's almost comical, you know what I mean? Because he did, he didn't touch the ball, but he was in possession of the ball. Like, I don't think you really need to touch the ball to be in possession of the ball. Yeah. And it's just ridiculous.
Yeah, well, look, I think overall it's been a very entertaining round of Serie A. You know, we've still got Milan who are sitting on top of the table and, you know, they've only dropped the 2 points, which was against Roma this week. Napoli on a second, tied with Sassuolo on 11 points. I'm just going to run through the table. You'll probably have an image somewhere on the screen that shows the points. But, you know, you got Inter in fourth place, and disappointingly so, I would say. Juventus on 9 points. I don't think that's disappointing. I just feel, you know what, they're finding their groove under Pirlo. You got Atalanta and Sampdoria all on the same points as 9. Hellas and Roma both on 8. Fiorentina, Cagliari, and Lazio all on 7. Benevento on 6. Spezia on 5. Genoa and Parma on 4. And then you've got Bologna, Udinese, Torino. Bologna, Udinese on 3, and Torino and Crotone on 1. The results this week really didn't impact the table that much, but it was a very entertaining week. It was a pleasure doing the episode with you, Vince. What do you think? What's your last words? What are your last words? How are you signing off?
Well, you know, this is what we wanted to do. We wanted to give something to the fans because we wanted to give a recap of every game, and I'm real positive. I think that this is a long-term project that people would jump on with because we're giving people what they want. The little teams deserve respect, and we're doing it. And I had a great job doing it. And if you guys want to leave a comment or even a video message, we'll be happy to put it on and answer your questions. But other than that, I'm happy to wrap it up. And thank you, Calcio supporters. And thank you, Bruno.
Yes, and it was a pleasure doing this alongside of you, Vince. But yeah, that is the first episode of the Serie A podcast. It's for you, the fans. Let us know if there's any questions you want to add, and we will be coming to you around the same time next week with Match Day 6. Take care.
Ciao.
Trying to stop recording.